In this lesson, I'm going to walk you through your deliberate practice plan. We talked about deliberate practice in a previous week. You weren't quite ready to receive this plan at that point because we need to build up a little bit more about what a successful professional practice is really about. But now we really want to focus on bridging the gap between how you go from professional skills to real expertise. Before we get started, you need to download this exercise. It's called the Deliberate Professional Practice Plan PDF. The first page of it looks like this. And so go download that. There's another thing that you're going to need to do because the first part of this exercise is to choose the top 10 skills that you need in your professional practice. So let's go all the way back to the first lesson. Pull out the session one workbook where I walked you through the taking a skills inventory. And in order to do that, you use the skill set table. So go back and pull up that Excel spreadsheet. Hopefully you've been working on that because it's really important in that spreadsheet. You've written out all of the skills that you have, the skills that you want to have, and you've determined what level of skill that you have. So those are from 0 to 5. And so you may have no knowledge or skill at all, which is a 0, and you may already have a specialist skill or expertise, and that would be a 5. So go ahead and pull that spreadsheet up because we're going to get into that with this first exercise. So review that skill set table and choose the top 5 so-called soft skills and the top 5 technical skills. These skills are ones that you're going to need for your professional practice to propel your career transformation along and to become the kind of expert that you really want to be. Let me walk you through how you're going to do this. So, for instance, let's say that you really want to get great at writing concise emails, and this is more of a soft skill than a technical skill. If you're currently at, say, a 2, which means that you are beyond having just no knowledge and skill, you have either coursework or some background knowledge in it, but you also have some experience. And of course, we all have some experience in writing emails, but have you really been focused on writing concise emails, bulleted emails, emails that convey the message, organizing your emails in a certain way? Have you been really focused on that? And let's say that you have some experience with writing concise emails, but you really want to become very skilled, a 4 level at writing concise emails. Okay. So you've done the basic part of the soft skill. So let's do an example for a technical skill. Let's say that you need to learn Python coding. And let's say that you have no background in it. You've never taken a course in it. You don't know anything about Python coding, except that it exists and that you need it. You have an idea that you probably need to become moderately skilled at it. At least that's your current goal. That's a good goal. Jumping a few levels is a good goal. If you want to go from 0 to 5, that may not be a realistic goal. It may be better using the SMART system to set a more achievable, a more realistic goal, a better time framed goal, something that's not going to take as much time. So keep in mind the SMART system in this process too. It's going to help you build these skills. All right. Here's another way that you can select your top 10 skills. Now, of course, you can look at the rating of your level and say, oh, well, these skills are already 5, so I don't need to develop those, or those are already, expert level skills. But let's say that you've got 0, 1s, and 2s, and 3s that you want to advance to 3, 4s, and 5s. Focus on those lower levels. Those are probably the skills that you want to focus on being the top skills that you want to develop right now. But also consider the 5 traits of expertise. Being skilled in pattern recognition. And with this, you really want to focus on pattern recognition. What skills are going to help you develop the ability to recognize patterns? And this could be soft skills. It could be accounting and bookkeeping. It could be recognizing patterns in accounts in a spreadsheet. But it could also be pattern recognition using some sort of patterns in production lines and noticing where the patterns are showing that production is moving along smoothly or patterns where production is lacking or lagging behind. Those are the sorts of pattern recognition skills that you want to develop. Conceptualize problems based on foundational knowledge and principles. Here, it's not really about foundational knowledge and principles. Yes, that's part of it, but you can get foundational knowledge and principles by reading typically. Textbooks often are the source of foundational knowledge and principles. But really, the expertise is in conceptualizing the problems. So focus on the types of skills that are going to help you in conceptualizing problems. That doesn't mean solving the problems. We'll get to that, but conceptualizing what those problems are. And then determining solutions and planning strategies. So you'll want to solve problems, but really what you want to focus on are skills that allow you to plan strategies. After you've conceptualized a problem, plan a strategy for how you're going to solve it. And then restate the problem in terms of its constraints, limitations, and uncertainties. And uncertainties is really the key here. You want to focus on skills that help you focus in on uncertainties in the business, uncertainties in your process, uncertainties in the science or engineering applications. That's what you want to focus on. And then finally, participate in the solution. Expertise, yes, of course, it's about solutions for your clients and customers, but it's about you participating. So think about how you are going to participate in developing these skills and how you'll participate in deploying these skills to solve problems. And of course, your skills need to be competitive. And in order to be competitive, they need to be scarce and valuable. You could have, for instance, Python coding, which is not necessarily a scarce skill, but it's a very valuable skill. That still applies here. Just because it's not scarce doesn't mean it's not valuable. Of course, if you become an expert at some area of Python coding, then your skill is both scarce and valuable. So let's put these skills into a fuller perspective using the 6 tenets of professional practice: performance, experience, collaboration, feedback, reflection, and wisdom. You're going to use page 2 of this exercise, write in that skill A. So in the example, skill A here would be write concise emails. And from there, you want to evaluate the 6 tenets of professional practice in light of that particular skill, writing concise emails. So think about, if you want to become very skilled at writing concise emails, how is your performance, your overall performance, going to improve as a result of this skill? And write about that. Your experience, what sorts of additional experience will you gain? What sorts of experiences will you need to find in order to get or implement this skill? Collaboration. Writing emails is definitely a collaborative process because ultimately you typically want a response to an email. So in order to gain that collaboration, in order to gain that response, with whom and on what are you going to collaborate with that skill? Feedback. You're going to need some feedback early on in order to understand whether the person who's received your email has gotten, out of it what you need. Was it too concise? Was it not concise enough? Go to those people, call them on the phone, get them on a Zoom call, get them on a Microsoft Teams call, see them in person and find out whether or not your email was concise and whether it was appreciated and whether it was good. Figure out how often you need to get that feedback. Presumably, you're not going to need that feedback for every single email that you send. You're not going to need it forever. You're not going to need it for years. You're going to need it for a period of time. So figure out what that period of time is and how frequently you need to seek that sort of feedback. And then reflect. At what point will you reflect on this skill and reflect on how this skill relates to your deeper career purpose? Now, it may not seem like there's any connection between your deeper career purpose and writing concise emails, but guarantee there is some connection there. And finding that is going to be important because then at some point when you're getting feedback, you'll be able to reflect on your deep purpose and that feedback, and you're going to become better at writing those concise emails. That's how you're going to push yourself along. And then, of course, the wisdom of it. You know, emails, just like any other form of communication, become emotionally charged. People perceive written communications differently. That's how miscommunications arise. You need to balance your perspective on things with your rational and your emotional mind in order to gain the wisdom through building this skill. So remember that the 6 tenets of professional practice are embedded with 3 key lessons for deliberate practice. And so think about these when you do the other parts of this exercise. So when you answer the question, how does this top 10 skill relate to your top SMART goals and your purpose? You want to you can look at, of course, at your top SMART goals. You can look at your purpose, but then reflect across the tenets, reflect across these three lessons in deliberate practice, and then write your answer here. And that same thing goes for the next questions, which are what obstacles are in your way? How are you going to get past those obstacles? Who can help you when you get stuck in overcoming those obstacles? And what are you going to do to celebrate your accomplishment? What are you going to do to reward yourself when you take a small step or you ultimately achieve the level of skill that you wanted to achieve in that skill? And remember that in order to achieve any of this, you're going to need to have some specific attributes in your mindset. Things about commitment, strength, acceptance, self determination, positive self belief. So you may actually want to find ways to embed those 5 words: commitment, strength, acceptance, self determination, positive self belief, embed those in your written statements in this exercise. So you saw in that last image people first, right? And we also saw what 2 of the 6 tenets are about collaboration and feedback. Collaboration and feedback fundamentally require the interaction with people. And if we're putting people first, people need to be first of mind when we're thinking about how we collaborate and how we seek feedback and how we reflect on our feedback. So you may want to go back to the lesson on relationships and pull out that relationship change resume matrix, look at that matrix, and figure out how some of these changes in relationships, especially the future changes, new ideas about relationships, areas for improvement, how those can also be related to your skills, how those can wrap the skills in with these 2 tenets of professional practice that relate to people. I hope this is helpful to you. Let your coach know if you need any help getting through this exercise. Look forward to seeing you in the next session.